Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Embodied by Mac. My name is Michaela. I'm an evolutionary and predictive astrologer, and today we're here for your February 2026 horoscopes. This is a rocking and rolling month because we start off the month with a very dramatic full moon in Leo, and then we have Saturn moving into Aries, which is initiating a 3-year cycle. Saturn's going to conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, which is a cycle we have never experienced before in our lifetimes. That's a total reset in a certain part of your life. And we also have a new eclipse season starting in the Aquarius Leo axis. So, eclipse seasons tend to be pretty intense and can accelerate things in our life and feel like we're being forwarded back onto our path or redirected onto our path. And it's really where time collapses, karmic situations kind of fall into place and we get redirected and pushed along further in our journey for growth, for evolution, to meet your aspirations, to meet your goals, your manifestations, what have you. But eclipses can be intense emotional periods. So we're going to talk about that definitely. And then towards the end of the month, we are in the middle to the end of the month, we are in a Mercury retrograde period. So, first Mercury retrograde of 2026. So, there's just a few things I want to touch on for each of the astrological signs for this month. I think that's pretty much enough to get covered. And at the end, if you feel like you want a reading with me, then you can go to embodiedbymac.com. You can book a reading right through there, or you can connect with me on any of my social media on Instagram, TikTok, or here on YouTube. You can find my email, send me a letter, and let me know if I can help you. And if you want a reading to navigate the next 6 months ahead for us in 2026. Okay, so make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and get ready for your horoscope. Hey, Geminis. So this is your forecast, quick forecast for the month of February. We start the month off with a full moon in your third house, and this is your communication house. So there's definitely important themes around this full moon for you, just because Geminis, you have an affinity with the third house and the natural zodiac. So full moons are all about like a culmination and things coming to a head or coming for integration or exposure. Okay, so this could very much be related to any shared ideas when it comes to you expressing yourself, right? So maybe there's this drama that comes up between your local community for whatever reason. Maybe you're unhappy with something and you decide it's time that you need to speak up and use your voice and have a little bit more vibrato with what you're saying, or sending a message out that's really, really feels important to you, okay? Whether it's in your local community or in your network or on social media even, right? This could also be a time if you are looking to expand your social media. I think this would be a really good full moon to just release some stuff out there into the network and make sure that you give your voice some power that it deserves, okay? Sending your message out, or you might have a clarity around a message or an idea or perspective that you're wanting to bring and share out into the table later on. Okay, this is an important month for you also because we're going to talk about it later, but there is a Mercury retrograde at the end of the month, right? So maybe you get this new idea, this new download that comes into vision or comes into perspective and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like I feel really good. I feel really creative about this. I need to express this. I need to share this," right? Maybe you want to teach a course on it and create a course. Maybe you want to teach a class on it. Maybe you decide this is when you're gonna launch your YouTube channel or your new TikTok or so forth, right? Something about the media, something about the local environment also, and also being able to share your own personal self-expression, right? And bring that narrative out in a more creative way, okay? Standing in your, creative flow, acknowledging yourself creatively, and not feeling shy about it. I don't think Geminis or Gemini risings tend to always feel so shy because you guys are really great networkers naturally, really educated people, really smart people, know a lot of stuff. So this might be a time when you're like, oh, I need to release my fears around, self-expression and maybe sharing information that I know and really stepping into that Leonic sense of self-empowerment that can come from your throat chakra, right? From your voice. Then we're going to move into the 13th of February, which is a pretty big deal when we have Saturn and Neptune, which are going to conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries. Okay. And that's going to start happening in your 11th house. So this month is really, there's a lot of themes between like, okay, sharing your voice, sharing your opinion, and then making that connection to groups and communities that you can bond and that you can connect with and share that similar vision. So I think on one end, because the Saturn and Neptune conjunction in Aries is closing out things, it means that some groups, I think, and some ideals and some communities and alliances that you are connected to might need to wither away, or you might be deciding that, you taking a few steps away from that, but it's going to allow you to start some new structures within that kind of environment in your life and new beginnings and new friendships and new people to come in. Okay. So this is time that's really important for Gemini and Gemini risings, where you're getting new friendships and you're getting new ideas coming into your consciousness, and you're really restructuring that area of your life, which is going to bring you some long-term visions for where you're going, right? And what these new cycles are looking like for you and what the direction they're going into for you. So maybe there's some community pruning here. Maybe you're kind of testing the waters or for a little bit and taking your time because Saturn is in this element. So maybe it's taking a little time for you to decide, what groups you want to get into or initiate in yourself into, or maybe, you're having a little bit of a hard time navigating or getting into a group or some sort. But I think long term with Saturn moving into this 11th house for the next 3 years, there's a lot of promise for these new connections within these communities to serve you something for the long term. Okay. So if you want to think back to for Saturn, May 24th to September 1st, 2025, you would have got a preview here, okay, where some of these structures are, when it comes to those alliances, are having a new initiation and a new beginning. Okay. So maybe you were testing the waters with some friends, some groups, some communities, some long-term goals. Maybe some visions were coming in for you, and you're like, maybe I'm going to put a little bit of hard work long-term into that. You would have got a preview during that time frame. And you would have also had a preview of Neptune from March 30th to October 22nd of 2025. Okay. So maybe some confrontation here when it comes to feeling connected to a greater whole. Neptune really wants to ask you, where can you find connection to something that's outside of the material realm? Or in this case, for your 11th house, where can you feel like you're making a greater significance or purpose on humanity? Okay. That could be very important for the Gemini risings at this time, is like, oh, being connected to community, making an impact, something that is of service essentially to humanity itself. Okay. So I think for Gemini and Gemini risings, you guys can step into a lot of leadership roles and spiritual leadership roles, if you so choose, within your groups and communities that can really have a long-lasting, massive impact on humans, right? Just because with Neptune here, you'll really be able to connect to the masses. Okay. It's important also to remember that you can't control all things. So don't submerge yourself so much in these community dynamics where you can get overwhelmed, like your nervous system can get overwhelmed because of the pain and suffering that you will be so sensitive to knowing when it comes to humanity in general, okay? Or these bigger problems or bigger things that need to be solved in the world, right? I can see a lot of you guys being impacted by that and feeling the compassion around that, right? And it's important to know that you don't have to carry because it's going to be in Aries, right? And you've got an Aries 11th house. So many of you might feel that very warrior-esque mode when you enter groups and communities, right? That you can't carry everything, okay? And some things we have to allow ourselves to surrender to so that, we can allow the rest when we need, so that we can continue doing the work that's of service and that's important to us in our daily lives and our own personal world. And so we move a little bit forward here into February, and then we're going to reach the first solar eclipse of the Aquarius and Leo axis that is coming up. So this is important because this does initiate a new eclipse series. Again, like I said, so this will be impacting your ninth house and third house. So the last time this happened, if you want to look back, pause the video and you can think back of what happened. This was in February of 2017 to January of 2019. Then there was a cycle again in your third and ninth house of between February 2008 and August of 2009. Those periods will have similar themes to now, but of course it will not be exactly the same. Okay. But it is important to note that the eclipse, I'm sorry, it's on February 17th, not 2022. Here we go. Boop. I was like, why is the sun in Pisces? It is important to note that eclipse energy can feel very exaggerated and accelerated. Okay. We can accelerate things or want to feel like we can accelerate things under eclipse energy, and things can get a little bit chaotic at times, especially I think with this one being in Aquarius, right? The moon will be in Aquarius. It's a new moon in Aquarius. But eclipses are really about helping you get back on your karmic path. Okay. So if you have been like super off on your karmic path, an eclipse will come in and it's going to be a more aggressive usher onto your journey, like onto your karmic path. But if you're like not too far off, not too astray, it might be a little bit more of a gentler push, right? It's just considering where you're at. There's no right or wrong, but really their timeline collapses, okay? And they're turning points in your life. So you can expect some massive turning points coming to your ninth and third house axis. So this could be a sense of your belief structure because of the people you're networking with now, or the things you're learning, or the things that you're seeing happening in the world. This could be a collapsing essentially of your belief structure and then a restructuring of that in the aftermath, right? Because with this eclipse, there's going to be an ending and a new beginning. So often could lead to like a worldview reprogramming, if you will, which is obviously perspective is super important for Gemini and Gemini rising. And I mean, for all of us individually, like the ninth house, the perspective realm is super important because that will dictate the trajectory of our life that we want to go into. So for many of you, you could be experiencing this like psychological rebirth or this like faith trajectory shift that's going on, that could very much realign you when it comes to like where you want to live, what you want to learn, what you want to teach. Maybe you're having a religion shift. Maybe you're having a spiritual awakening. Maybe you're coming into a sense of spiritual authority in a community like astrology or religion or so forth, given with your Saturn and Neptune moving into your 11th house too. So maybe Saturn's giving you an authority in your group hemisphere, and your ninth house, your beliefs are shifting. You're getting your higher mind activated, and you're kind of getting this spiritual upgrade or this reprogramming upgrade. This can also mean that you're meeting destiny when it comes to higher education. So maybe you decide that you're changing your course of study. Maybe you're in college or a master's degree or doctoral degree, and maybe all of a sudden you have this massive awakening and this massive shift that you're gonna go into some new program, and then of course that's going to change the trajectory of your life and so forth. Okay. This could also bring in travel opportunities, foreign and local, for a lot of Gemini and Gemini risings, which then again, if you are taking some type of pilgrimage somewhere, you're going on some type of trip, that you're meeting people and having experiences that again are going to affect your worldview. And then also you get an upgrade or an acceleration of the programming that you're attuned to, and that kind of shifts. And at the end of the month, we are going to wrap up with this Mercury retrograde, which begins on February 26th. And yeah, so we have a Mercury retrograde in Pisces, and this is going to be happening through your 10th house of your astrology chart. Okay, so this can be linked to making public shifts because the 10th house is the public house. So maybe you're rethinking about the direction of your life again, or your work, or maybe you're choosing to resign, or maybe you are thinking about choosing to resign. This could also mean that you're connecting with people from the past that have to do with authority figures in your life, parental figures in your life. This could mean that you're talking and speaking about healing dynamics that came to your family lineage, parental access, and so forth. Maybe you're opening up modalities of therapy again that are bringing about some type of healing that is related to a relationship that you had with a parent, or maybe you're a parent and you're opening that up with your children, or other family members, and there's some sort of healing and conscious altering happening when it comes to you and other people in your life, and how other people view you. Okay. Maybe they're viewing you as like ending an addiction cycle, and you're kind of going through this public rebirth, and you're coming out as a new person, and so forth. This could definitely mean that you're changing just the overall direction. Maybe you are working through marital status issues and so forth, because the 10th house is also where we are seen for being married or divorced or in a relationship or not. So maybe for some of you, you're rekindling with like an old romance or an old partner. Maybe you were divorced and you're deciding to get back together again, reinstate your vows, for instance. That could definitely be a Mercury retrograde in Pisces thing in the 10th house, is reinstating your vows and your commitments to other people. And then this could also just be reconnecting to spiritual teachers from the past, spiritual humans from the past. And then also thinking about where you want to be of service to your 10th house community as well. Just because your 10th house is ruled by Pisces, for a lot of Geminis, it means a lot for you guys to be of service to other people in your work environment. So maybe you're reevaluating and looking at where you can put your time and energy to make more of an effort or connection, I guess, to your worldly affairs. Okay, so that's it for you guys, Gemini rising. I hope you have a great month of February, and I'll talk to you soon.